Welcome to episode 2. We hope you enjoyed episode 1. Now we're going to continue on with our development as we look at refactoring into React hooks, using the state and looking at section theme changes. Let's dive straight in. Now we need to also install or import the theme properties for when we're adding a theme. So I'm going to put that in there now. And in order to do that, I need to put that we're going to import the theme provider and the theme changed by arguments in there as well, and also the read-only theme. And we're taking all that from the component base, so the base components of the SharePoint framework. Okay, fantastic. So you'll notice our properties are wrong here. We're going to need a property first to capture the document title. So I'm going to put that in here now. And get rid of the other one. So we've got the document title. We're also going to capture as a property the storage list. Let's put that in there. Okay. Then we're going to pass through the label for the checkbox. Let's put that in there. Then we're also going to add the message that we display to the user before they click the checkbox. So that's the message I'm typing in there. Okay, let's tidy that up a little bit. And then also, what is the message that we display when the user has read the message? So when it loads it up and says, I can see that you've read this. That's absolutely fine. So we've got those in there, all scaffolded for it. So let's go into our read receipt webpart class. Maybe could have named that a bit better, I guess. Okay, so what are we passing in here? Well, it's got some errors because obviously this property doesn't exist. Before we do that though, I need to set up a theme that we're going to pass in, some variables for that. So let's put those in here now. Okay, so I'm going to put in the theme provider, which is derived from a theme provider from Microsoft, from the SPFx base classes, and I'm going to put the variant in there as well, which can be undefined. We'll allow that in there. Okay, so let's put that in there. Okay, so now I've got that. I also want to pass in the details I've got into here. So let's get rid of, well actually before we do this, let's do an init function, because we actually need to set up a few things before we can pass our details through to our TSX file. So the first thing I want to do is I want to create a protected asynchronous function on init, which returns a promise. Okay. All right, let's get that in there. So what else do we want to add into here? Well, the first thing I want to do is wait for the actual on init function to initiate. So we go to the parent on init, of course. Then what do we do? Well, we want to set up the SP libraries to know the context of the web part. What is it working in? Okay, so we're going to do that now. Okay, so sorry about any interruption there. I had to change to a different camera. Okay, let's go on to our next bit. After we've called the parent function, we need to initiate or initialize the SP libraries. So we type sp.setup this.context. So we're passing in the context to the library. So then the next thing we want to do is initialize the theme variant. So the way we do that is we simply type this theme provider, so that's the variable we've got up there, is this.context.service scope consume, and we do theme provider.service key. again, I'll go deeper into this on another video, but we have got one about setting up themes. Then what we need to do is we need to try and get the actual context theme variant. So the way we do this is we say this dot theme variant is equal to this dot theme provider dot try get, because it may not exist, the current theme. Then I want to add a function in to respond to a theme change event when we change a section. So I'm going to scaffold this up in a moment, but essentially I'm going to set it that on the theme changed event, I'm going to add in to this handled theme change event. So that's a function I'm going to have to create now. So let's put that in there without further ado. Okay, let's have a look. So we'll make it a private function because we're just calling it here within our environment. And we're going to do handle theme changed event, pass in the arguments, and I want to set the theme variant that we're using to be the one that's been passed in from SharePoint. And then I'm going to call re-render so that we render it with the correct colors. Fantastic. Okay, so now we need to turn our attention to our render function. Well, it's missing a load of properties. So let's type these in one by one. So we don't need a description anymore. We've got rid of that. So I'm going to instead type in here the document title, which is a property that we're going to set up in a moment. Okay, so let's get rid of that. Okay, we're going to pass in the current user display name, but note, in order to do this, I'm going to use the current context that the web part's running in. So we can use current user display name is this.context.pageContext.user and then the display name from the current user, and that's what we'll use to store in our list. We're going to pass through the property we're going to set up for our storage list. Let's put that one through as well. Then we're going to put through the one that we're setting up for our acknowledgement label and for our acknowledgement message. So let's add those in now as well. Yep, so we've got acknowledgement label for the checkbox. So this is this.properties.acknowledgement label. And then we're going to type in the message that we're displaying. We're putting that in there now. That's the read message, and that's cool. What else do we need? We need to put the read message in, yeah. So this is the one which we display when the message has been read. I'm just going to pass in the property. We're going to set these properties up in a moment, and you'll be able to see this. Okay, I need to pass the theme variant through that we've set up. Okay. So we'll say the theme variant is equal to this.theme variant, our variable we've set up there. That's cool. What else are we missing? Configured. Now I'm going to put a bit of Boolean logic in here. I'm going to say that it's configured once I've chosen a list from a list picker. Okay. So I'm going to put this.properties.storageList. So if it exists, if it's not null or undefined, then I'm just going to set it to the storage list, as long as it's not equal to blank or false. So the storage list can be undefined, null, or blank. So we have to allow for that. And then finally, I'm going to pass in our context. And as I said before, I always recommend you always set up a context property anyway to pass this through. And there, our red error messages have gone away. So what else do we need to do? Well, now we actually need to set up, of course, our properties. All right, so I can get rid of the description because we don't have a description anymore. But I'm going to set up, first of all, I'm going to set up the list picker. Okay, so I'm going to type that in here. So the list picker is using the patterns and practices list picker control. So I'm going to call this one storage list to match our property. Now I'm going to put these strings in the locale in a moment, but I'm going to have a string for the storage label. The selected list is going to be the property storage list that we're using at the moment. I don't want to include hidden lists in there. I'm going to order it by the title of the list name. So when it appears as a property, it will have the list name. It's not disabled. I'm going to bind on property pane field changed to this. So essentially we're just going to kind of work by default with the function that comes with it. We're going to say this properties collection is the properties. The context is this.context. I don't want to do anything with an error message, but you could put something in here. I'm not going to defer the validation time on it at all. And the key to this is list picker field ID. Now, important, I want to set multi-select to false, and I want to put the base template as 100, which is custom lists. Okay, so basically this is setting up the property picker in there, okay, and it's saying you haven't got this label in there. We'll put that in a moment. I'm going to do a similar one now with the document title. So I'm doing just a text property in here for the acknowledgement, for the document title. I'm going to do the same for the acknowledgement text in there. Obviously we're getting an error because we haven't set up these locale strings yet. So this one is going to be for the message I'm putting in here. Then I also need one for the label as well, for the checkbox. I'm going to put that in above it actually. So this is going to be for the label that we're typing in there. Okay, and I need to put, yep, that's fine. It likes that except for the errors. And the final one I want to put in is the message that we're going to display. So these are the webpart properties that we're going to capture that information that we need to on there. Okay. Now, while we're typing that, I also want to put some default values for these in here as well. Now, the way I can do that is I can go back to our JSON file and get rid of the description there, and instead we're going to type in the acknowledgement label. We'll as confirm. We're going to type in the acknowledgement message as tick to acknowledge you have read the document. And I'm going to put a read message to say that you've already acknowledged that you've read this document, and you can change that to be whatever you want it to be. And then I'll get rid of this description, which I seem to be pushing out the way at the end there. I meant to press delete on that at the beginning. There we are. So this is going to pass some default properties when we first configure the web part. So let's go back to our TS file, and we'll notice we've got a number of errors. So what we need to do is go to the LOC on the folder on the left hand side, and we need to set up all of these different strings we're going to use. So let's have a look in there. I think it's got one for description in there at the moment. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a few in here. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of that one, and I'm going to type ones in for read message label. We're going to have a string in there. We're going to have acknowledgement message. That's going to be label. It's going to be a string. We're going to do one for the actual label there. And we're going to put one in for the document title and for the storage list label. So now we've got those set up, we need to go to this, the ENUS. Obviously you could do it for whatever language you're using here, whatever it's set up in here. We can get rid of the description field because we don't need that anymore. And then we can just type in the default text that's going to go against each of those properties. So when we go to the property pane, this is the text that it will say for each of those in there. So let's type those in. We've got the read label message. We've got this one is going to be the message to display. This one's going to be the checkbox label. The next one's going to be the document title. And the final one's going to be a pointer to the storage list. Excellent, cool. So that's that all set up. So the last thing we need to do is change our main part, which is the TSX file. So the first thing I want to do here is actually change it to a React hook because I prefer that. But in order to use it first, we're going to have to import a few things. We've got our properties have come in here. So in order to use React hooks, I'm going to have to import some libraries there. Now, if you want to find out all about React hooks, there's a video we've got all about it. If I remember, I'll put the description up above us there. Excellent. Then, of course, we're going to need some of the other libraries that we've got. So we're going to need some PMP library functions, but we only want to bring in the functions we're going to use. So in this case, I'm going to put a reference to SP so that we can refer to this in the library. We're going to put in here the webs we want to access because I want to find website, the SharePoint site, the lists, and the items that are found in an item. Now, I'm also going to use a number of items from Office UI Fabric. So I'm going to put those in there as well. So Office UI Fabric allows you to really rich controls. So we're using checkbox, we're using text, we're using stack tokens for the layout for the stack, the theme and the stack, all from the Office Fabric UI. Finally, I'm going to bring in the theme reference like we did in the properties folder. And I'm going to include the awesome placeholder control from Patterns and Practices, where it puts one of those really good configuration controls if you haven't configured your web part. Okay, let's have a look. Okay, now the next thing I'm going to do is before you worry, I'm going to delete everything after this, okay? And I'm going to start from scratch. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a React hook function first of all. So I'm going to do a constant read receipt web part, because that was our name, is a function component, which of course is for hooks, and we're passing in our properties to it. And we're going to type, let's finish that off. So we've got a nice function set up for us, but of course it's giving errors because it's missing some functions that we need. Well, the first thing we want to do is we need to set up, using the state, a variable which is going to say whether we should show the message or not. So we're going to show the message to say please tick this box, and that's set to true as the default. And then we have to get the theme colors. Now this is just a standard bit of SPFx code. We'll explain it in the theme video we've got, but we get the semantic colors using our themes. Well, I hope you enjoyed that episode. Join us next time for the final episode where we're going to look at reading and writing from lists and testing our web part.
If you've enjoyed this video, then please do give us a like, and if you like this kind of content, then do make sure you subscribe and ring that bell icon so you never miss out on a video.
And if you want to join us on our developer journey, see the link below, and if you're feeling generous, buy us a coffee.
Thank you so much for watching, thanks for your time, happy coding, we'll see you next time.